And welcome back to the LEC Winter Playoffs, live from the Riot Games Arena here in Berlin. Yesterday we kicked off the best of 3 series, and today should be explosive as we see Team Vitality coming in the studio. And of course, SK Gaming, they're going to face against each other in the first series of the day. I'm super hyped for the games we're going to have. I'm Laure, and I will be with Treats and Broxah to open the show. How are you doing, boys?
Great,
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. Really fun day yesterday. Today will be another fun day. I think best of 3 always brings kind of the extra spice. I like best of 1s, but best of 3, I think that's where you see kind of the true character of the teams.
This is where the real stuff happened. And you said fun for yesterday. What other words could you use to describe what happened? It was kind of fast, I guess, but yeah, Broxah, something to sum up if your viewers missed the action.
I might regret saying this, but it reminds me a bit of Worlds, except that the winning teams were the East and the losing teams were the West. You know, it was a complete and utter stomp in both games.
Awful in either way, but not for G2 and BDS, who advanced quite convincingly. We will see them on Monday tomorrow. And yeah, we're going to find out who they're going to face off against later today. We're going to open with SK versus Vitality, and later on, the match of the week, Mad Lions Koi versus Fnatic. I'm really hyped about these matchups, for sure.
Yeah, they will be really fun. I think now coming into the Vitality SK series, it will be very exciting to see what these teams have planned. So I think in general, I'm really hyped to see kind of what SK has planned to stop Vitality. There's been a lot of kind of aggression on the side of Vitality, so it will be interesting to see today.
Yeah, and SK and Vitality is our first series, and we saw this matchup just last week, actually. So Goldberg, can you talk us through what happened there, please?
Absolutely. I just want to go for a quick recap since, I mean, this matchup is so fresh. As you said, it was played last week. Now, this matchup, at least in the early game, was all about the jungle matchup. Douglas was continuously pushed out of his jungle, which allowed SK to split the map towards the top side. But they didn't really get too much out of it, but they tried to repeat the same instance where they wanted to once again invade on the red buff. This time around though, Relevant is back in base, which allowed Photon to have the first move and secure the first blood. So obviously not the best decision making from SK. It was fine in the beginning, but then they kind of threw it away. But all is not well for Vitality here. They're trying to dive Irrelevant again and again, as you can see in the picture, and both times it's resulting in failure. VTO comes through with the package. Once again, Vitality is investing a lot of resources on the top lane to try and shut Irrelevant down, but they are unsuccessful. Now this allows Isma to play towards his bot side, getting the Lucian Nami ahead, shutting down the Vitality bot lane. At the same time, SK takes over the entire game as a result of both top side and bot lane being ahead of their counterpart, and take fight after fight to secure the game for themselves. All in all, it was a pretty dominant game from SK, but it was one that was paved by Vitality's own mistakes. So if they can own up to their mistakes, if they learn from anything, well, that's what we're going to find out later today. But back to the desk for the rest of the pre-match.
And I think it's a super important reminder. Thank you so much, GB, for this, especially because when you look at what we just saw and Vitality's games in general, it is really messy. It is action-packed, but we know that sometimes it can be a style for a team. It can be an identity, having messy game, navigating through chaos. But it doesn't look like it's the case for them, not controlled chaos.
Yeah, I think looking at Vitality now, they are really crazy, but to the point where there's no control, there's no stop button really. And I think this is a problem they really need to tackle soon. You know, with the bot lane of Kasi and Huli, they're going to be aggressive, but the top side is meant to be more stable, and they do play pretty stable, but why are they not holding them back? Why are they not bringing control? And back when I played with Huli years ago, that was the job of some of the rest of us. We know he's going to go aggressive, put him on a leash, hold him back to find more of a middle ground, and then you can have success.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the kind of having a stop button is going to be very important for their series today, because, like you said, if you have kind of Huli and Karsi to drive the aggression, someone on the top side needs to be kind of the voice of reason and the voice of holding them back. So it will be really interesting to see against SK, who's kind of more of a very chill team. They take very methodical approaches to the game, so it will be a stark contrast.
Yeah, and we see here the DKC versus Vitality game, and for me this is textbook Vitality.
Crazy.
Up and down on the goal graph. The longest game they have, they averaged the longest game in the league, actually. Action-packed, as we said. Broxah, you were just mentioning that when you're going to have Healy in your team, you know what you're supposed to do. You know that you're supposed to put him on the leash. What should the identity be for Vitality? Because again, we're on week 4, playoffs. It's going to be best of series now. What do you want them to look like?
Well, I think with the solo lanes you have in Vizio and Photon, you know both of them are going to be stable and they're going to be performing on their own. They don't necessarily need resources. So use the strong top side to then start shifting their attention to bot, play around Kasi and Huli, but make sure that things don't get out of hand. Like, playing aggressive is great, but playing aggressive to the point where you take your brain and throw it out of the window and just take fights for literally no apparent reason, that's like silver gameplay, and we don't want that here.
It's been messy all around for
Well
them.
said.
Yeah, I know, it's honestly well said. Threw me off a bit here because it's brutally honest, but I think it's going to be important, especially facing off against SK, who's like the complete opposite of Vitality. Amazing start on the Winter Split here again. They did the same thing last year in very controlled game, and for me, they should have the upper hand in this because they know exactly which player is supposed to do in game.
Yeah, I think at least we can kind of know what we're getting from SK, this kind of methodical approach. I think especially it comes from Isma in the jungle. He has very clear early games and very clear objectives and what he wants to do. And then in the team fights, I think that's where they kind of shine. They have very crisp execution, I would say, as a team. If there's one engage that goes well, they all kind of follow at the same time. So it will be interesting to see if kind of the Vitality aggression can stumble SK in their plan.
My biggest question for them is, what happens if you shut down Niski? Because so far he seems like the main playmaker, the guy that pushes the game forward, and you can also see in Isma's way of approaching the game that he often just follows what Niski wants to do. So if I'm on the other side, my main objective in the game would be to camp Niski and shut him down one way or the other, because if Niski can no longer be the main voice, be the main guy to push the game forward, I think there's a high chance they're going to crumble.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think like mid-jungle for SK, that's where a lot of their plays have come from. And I think bot lane of SK has been playing well, but they've been playing a lot of scaling stuff, like the Lucian Milio, like Nami lanes as well. So I think in general, when it comes to SK versus Vitality, I agree with you. Kind of focus the mid lane from SK and shut down the mid-jungle and then kind of make the game chaotic from there.
As we said, they had a really good start of the season, similarly to last year. Do they look similar to what they were last year, Treats? Or where do you see the differences? Because it's not the same players.
Yeah, it is very tricky to kind of say. I think the kind of mid-jungle change from SK did obviously change a lot. Mid-jungle controls the pace of the game. Obviously bot lane, top lane being same as they're the same as from last year. I think Irrelevant has stepped up big time though. He's been a very consistent carry, not only on the Jax this time, but also other champs. So I think from that perspective, SK also look kind of revitalized. I wasn't too hyped on their last week's performance, but now it's playoffs and it's a new round, kind of, so to say.
And as you said, I think the rookie has been a big factor of SK's success so far, and Gennaro caught up with him earlier today, so let's check it out.
Thank you, Laure. We're joined here with Isma as well as Niski. Merci les deux pour l'interview. So, topic of conversation is going to be the relationship between the two of you on the Rift, but also outside of that. You know, we've seen some banter on Twitter, we've seen some videos. So I wanted to dig more deeper into that relationship particularly. I would like to start off with you, Isma. Joining SK, how has it been? And what was your philosophy beforehand when it comes to the approach of the game?
I mean, when I joined SK, I already knew Niski and Exa, I mean, the two French. The others a bit less, but I learned them really fast. And to be honest, now it doesn't change because I mean Exa and Niski are French, that's why I knew them. But to be honest, it doesn't matter now. I think we are a really good group now. After some times we joke a lot together in game or outside the game, so I feel really good. What was the other question?
What was your approach to the game before you met Niski and started playing together?
Yeah, I really like to play aggressive, fast, sometimes a bit stupid even. Try to fight a lot without thinking that much. So that was my approach of the game. And now that I joined SK, I kind of do the same. I like to fight a lot, but a bit more smart, I would say. Like trying to do 5v4, you know, instead of like 5v5 straight. Don't go 1v2 and all that stuff. So I think it's this.
Would you say your approach and your relationship between Isma in the game as well has helped develop that more calculated approach to these aggressive fights?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having a relation that's really good outside of the game helps with like giving feedback, making sure that when I tell him something, he takes it well and not like that he's on the defensive side. I think since he's a rookie and I've been there as well, I kind of knew how to make it work, even though it's kind of my first time working with a rookie. But I think I've done a decent job and I think he feels very comfy, which I'm very happy about. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
When you're talking about how to make it work, what exactly are you implementing behind the scenes in terms of making sure the feedback lands well and making sure that the relationship is a two-way street?
I think one is like the way you, for example, give feedback in general. When I talk to Exa, for example, I would talk very different than if I talk to Isma. If I have points to show, I know I have to repeat myself sometimes, and then I know that next week he might forget it. Stuff like that. I think that happens a lot in rookies, and I'm just more patient, I guess, with Isma than the others. Yeah.
And for you, Isma, as well, coming into this playoffs, you have this BO3 series. Is there a certain expectations that you have from yourself and from the team as to how you will be performing?
Yeah, I think I performed really good week 1, but after I think I was very inconsistent. I think I did a good job this week, so I just want to show it kinda. I don't have much expectation. I just want to do what I usually do. Like if we lose, I will be fine. I mean, depends how we lose, right? But I don't have. I mean, I want to win really hard, but I don't have that much expectation. Like I just expect to do what I did on the week because I think I did good. So that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, both of you, for the
Thank you
interview.
very
I
much.
appreciate it. Laura, we're going to be heading back over to you.
Thank you so much, Ginny. Amazing to hear from both of them. Niski leading and helping the young kids. That's a timeline I like, honestly. But I think it's an extra responsibility when you have to get your jungler, your rookie jungler, ready for best of 3 series like this. But I feel like Niski has been doing an amazing job helping Isma so far.
It almost feels surreal to me to see Niski sitting there like that as the veteran, the one who shares all the experience and knowledge with the young guy. Because when I joined Fnatic Academy with Niski back in the day, we were in that position, and it just goes to show how much all these years of playing has really changed him and made him a new person within the team.
Times have changed, but I guess it's easy when you have a jungler, as he said, who's going to listen to you and take your experience into account, because as we saw a lot of times, Isma is becoming a selfless jungler, ready to sacrifice himself for the good of his team. And you don't often see this from rookies playing fearlessly like this street.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times when rookies come in, you can expect very good mechanics and kind of very good aggression, like Isma said himself, kind of going ham. But I think that's kind of what Niski has brought. He's brought this kind of calm energy and very clear direction in the game, and it's not often that we see kind of the mid-jungle not having worked with each other previously kind of click this well so fast. So it will be really fun to see now in the best of 3s how they can play together.
So let's talk about this best of 3 and what we can expect, actually, because we saw a glimpse of the meta yesterday. We know that there are some champions that we can expect, knowing the both teams. We have uncontrolled, messy chaos on one side and methodical League of Legends with a clear identity on the other side. Who's going to take it and why?
I think I'll start. I think personally I kind of rate SK a bit higher. I think that the methodical approach in best of 3s usually comes out on top. I can see Vitality kind of clawing the way back if they find these crazy meta reads where they have an edge from draft, but I would have to say SK personally.
I'm going to go with SK as well. I'm going to continue to be a bit harsh on Vitality until they show that they can actually play League of Legends in more of a macro sort of way. And if they play the same way they have up until now, I actually hope Vitality is going to get a reality check, because otherwise they're never going to be more than the middle of the pack team at best.
And also about this, in a few seconds on the Rift, time to kick off the second day of the winter playoffs with Vitality and SK. Historics and Dagda, take it away, please.